And we continue this afternoon on Central Valley Talk with Mark McAfee from Organic Pastures Dairy. And we're going to talk about organic milk. The number 4 brand in America, you told me.
The number 4 brand of organic milk in America is Organic Pastures, right here in our backyard here in Fresno County.
Yeah, who knew?
Who would have known? Dollar voting, it kind of brought it to be in the last 16 years.
Yeah. So where can I find this? Is it farmers markets or in stores?
No, Lassen's and Sprouts here in Fresno, and 700 stores throughout the state carry this product, and it's thriving.
Yeah. Why not in the bigger, why not in the Save Marts? Why not in the Vons?
Actually, it's beginning to go into that. We started in, obviously, core niche markets, and then it began to grow, and now these larger chains are picking it up. Sprouts has 80 stores in California, so that's a pretty good, mainstream store to have. But nonetheless, it's growing because moms are finding out that just like breast milk, raw milk has the beneficial bacteria, the food to feed that bacteria, the oligosaccharides, the proteins, undenatured proteins. Everything's exactly like God made it. And in fact, we've been able to now answer that big question: is it safe? And after 16 years of really working hard with some of the best researchers in the world, the FDA and the lab science people have developed tests now, which we can get results back in 11 hours. Instead of 4 to 5 or 6 days on pathogens, specific pathogens. Extremely sensitive, inexpensive, rapid testing.
So before it even leaves your plant, it's been tested?
It's tested and held until we know, and then it's released. So the old days of maybe it's okay, maybe it's not, most of the time was fine. But sometimes you might have a problem, especially with now this rampant depressed immune system that so many people have today with antibiotics and sterilized foods and all the other things going on in the world. We have to be cautious about what we eat, and you hear about recalls, Chipotle, and so we have to be cautious about this. We're now able to test and know what's in our product before it's released, and that's a big deal.
Is regular milk tested the same way?
No.
You're more stringent than
Yes.
regular milk.
We have to meet and exceed pasteurized milk standards without pasteurizing. And that's a remarkable feat to do. We have to have certain bacteria counts are extremely low, but yet all the bacteria are alive. It's clean milk. And all the proteins are non-denatured, and all the building blocks of life are all there, just ready to nourish whoever wants to consume it. And it makes for a very powerful, delicious product that's thriving because of consumer demand that recognize this product and want to buy it.
Yeah. So what does pasteurization do to milk?
Great question. It's somewhat known, but let me share with you what's known.
Is it just heating the milk?
It's heating the milk. It's boiling the milk. It's taking it up to 165, 170 degrees.
Which kills some of the good stuff.
It kills all the bad stuff, if it's there, and it basically denatures and kills all the good stuff. And unfortunately, what that does is it makes it very hard to digest. It's good for shelf life, but very hard for gut life. And remember, your gut is what has to digest this. So you've stabilized the product, but your gut doesn't like stable products, so it likes to break down quickly. So you've made a long shelf life, hard to digest product. Lactose intolerance is a big problem with that, and also very allergenic. When you change the proteins and you kill the bacteria, you actually cause lots of allergens. Where raw milk has been found in 17 peer-reviewed published international studies in Europe to be non-allergenic and excellent for asthma and allergies and eczema, all the inflammation things are reduced by raw milk. Pasteurized milk is the #1 most allergenic food in America if you look at the FDA website. So it's like polar extreme opposites in terms of food value for the nutrition of your body, in terms of what it does physiologically. Easy to digest and non-allergenic versus hard to digest and very allergenic. So that's why you see pasteurized fluid milk actually in decline in America, where yogurt's doing quite well because they've been cultured and they're come alive again. And so are cheeses because they're cultured. So where pasteurized yogurts and cheeses are doing quite well, pasteurized fluid milk is actually in quite a decline, losing about 2% per year, 1.5% to 2% per year, where we're growing like crazy.
Can you make milk and cheeses with this?
We do.
You do?
In fact, this is butter.
Butter.
And wow, great stuff.
Raw butter.
Raw butter. And we also make kefir, which is like a yogurt-like product from raw milk. And we also make cheese. And we also make cream. And, you can make pretty much anything you want with raw milk, as long as it's high quality.
If you did a blind taste test with anyone, regular milk and your organic milk, could you taste the difference?
Yes. In fact, we've done that. We did at Fresno State at a master's program a few years back. My son was out there, and they lined up all the containers, and they had the pasteurized milk, organic milk, and raw milk. We won every one of them.
Based on the taste?
On the delicious flavor, yeah. In fact, in the polls we have from consumers, people buy with their taste buds first. It's like, if it's delicious, I'll buy it again. And then they find the values of it in their lives later that it's digestible and having no problems with digestion. But the first thing that people say is in our polls we get back is, it's delicious. So yeah, flavor matters. It really does.
Flavor matters.
Flavor matters.
All right. This is an off-the-wall question, but I have to ask it. Every creature on the planet that is nursed on milk
Sure.
grows out of that phase.
Yes.
But humans continue to drink milk
Great
long
question.
past
It's a great question.
long past being a baby.
You know, you may have heard of paleo, primal diets, these kind of funky things. It's interesting how mankind is reaching back into ancient history to kind of find out what the diets we used to eat that preserved us, because we didn't have modern medicine to cure our ailments. We're looking at the diets that actually kept us from getting sick, the preventative diets. For about 30,000 years, if you think about yourself as a caveman a long time ago, say, you know what, I'm really hungry. In fact, I'm starving. And I noticed that cow out there, or that sheep or goat or horse or any mammal, that young animal is nursing off its mom. I'm going to go steal some of that and bring it in here because I'm starving to death. And that's what mankind did around the world, not every place.
I would think they'd go steal the animal.
Well, they kill the animal sometimes too.
Yeah.
But this was the beginning of domestication and taking that milk and making it into milk or cheese or butter. And what do you know? You had milk in the wintertime. You had milk anytime you had green pastures. Anytime you had food to feed that animal, you had whole food you could survive on. And you know, it's interesting that the ancient Hindus called the cow the mother of the universe, because if the mom died in childbirth, it was the cow that fed the baby. And so it's interesting that prior to mankind's last 100 years, when you had supermarkets, it was the cow down the street that made the cheese, the butter, the cream, the milk, that actually thrived, you know, across America. There used to be hundreds of thousands of dairies, literally 2 or 5 miles apart. Every time you went to a church, there was a dairy, because you needed to have that fresh milk, because it actually was what allowed mankind to create civilization and not have to hunt so much as part of our evolution as a species.
Getting a history lesson here today.
It's pretty interesting stuff, yeah.
Now, I'm sure folks at home are wondering, what the heck is a hard hat doing on the table?
Why did I bring a hard hat?
There is a reason.
We actually, being a California San Joaquin producer of food, almonds, milk, recognized a couple years ago that we got a drought going on, and you can't produce milk or any ag commodities that are growing without water. Mm-hmm. So it's food and it's water. And unfortunately, California has embraced, in my opinion, some very poor water management policies. And so we recognized at Organic Pastures, there's a huge aquifer underneath us here in the valley, a massive one, a couple thousand feet deep. We need to drill for that water to get it, so we don't have to be dependent on these poor policies that are not serving us with water at service delivery. Even though we've got great rain going on, unfortunately, a lot of that rain's not being captured to help us. So we're still screwed. So what we did, we established All Pro Drilling, which is a water well drilling company that specializes in deep ag wells for farmers that see the reality of the fact that we're going to have to go to the water bank underneath us, because we are not being served by the water banks that should be around us in the mountains. And so we have Organic Pastures Dairy actually has been very supportive and been a part of the development of All Pro Drilling, not only for our own wells, but for other farmers that actually feel in the pinch as well. Yeah. That's why I brought my hard hat today.
Well, I understand. I'm curious, all this rain we're having, there has to be a way to get it down into that aquifer, to refill the aquifer.
Yep. Well, there's an active process and a passive process. You know,
it filters through the ground.
It filters through the ground. It comes through Leaky Acres out here, just west of Fresno. We got 1,000 acres.
Right. We have recharge ponds.
We have recharge ponds.
But valley-wide,
yeah,
there has to be some way to capture all that water and get it back down there underground.
Well, I tell you what, the rain's wonderful. The rain's a good part of that process. But if you look at the reservoir systems we have in the mountains, they're inadequate, and they're not managed to preserve that resource and distribute it properly. In fact, they release a lot of that water prematurely to feed the salmon or feed or whatever in these rivers. And unfortunately, we could do that. We could feed the salmon, but at the same time, you don't need to release the massive amount of water as they do. You need to reserve that and actually conserve it. In Mexico, I'm a pilot. I fly to Mexico quite a bit. And we see all these rivers in Mexico and good dam systems to hold that river water back so they can actually feed their wonderful place across Sinaloa and that whole entire area just inland of Mexico there along the west coast. They've got no problems with water because they manage it properly. And they have this reservoir systems and the river systems that actually distribute water very beautifully. We have unfortunately not allowed ourselves to create an infrastructure for water management here in California. Quote, environmentalists, of which I am one, by the way. I love organic and I love the environmental stewardship we have of ground, have kind of grabbed the policy and not allowed it to be environmentalism for farmers too. So we can all appreciate the rewards of good water management, which includes food and jobs.
Yeah. All right, I think we could talk the whole hour.
We
about
could
this,
take
but
that one
we're out
to
of time.
bank.
All right, Mark McAfee from Organic Pastures Dairy. How can folks find out more about your products, where to buy them and things?
OrganicPasturesDairy.com. Fantastic. Everything you ever want to know. And Rom, if you want to ever go to the allprodrilling.com, you could actually see, and we'd be more than happy to drill wells for anybody interested as well.
Awesome. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
All right.
And we'll be back with more on Central Valley Talk.
Excellent.